What happens when you work in harmony with the laws, in your opinion, and what happens when you work out of harmony with the laws? What happens when you work in harmony with the laws, in your opinion, and what happens when you work out of harmony with the laws?
Well, when you're not in harmony with the laws, your body breaks down. Your bank account breaks down. Your relationships break down. Your business breaks down. Everything breaks down when you're not in harmony with the law.
Right.
When you are in harmony with the law, your body becomes stronger. Your bank account becomes stronger. Your relationships become stronger. There's a basic law of life that says create or disintegrate. You're either moving ahead or you're moving backwards. When you're in harmony with the law, everything's working beautiful. And when you're not, everything's going in the opposite direction. Now, I maintain you can always tell whether you're in harmony with the law or you're not, just by being aware of your feelings. You want to ask how you feel about this or how you feel about that. And if you don't feel right about it, you're probably violating the law. Now, it's pretty interesting, you know. In the good book, in the Bible, it tells you that the price of sin is death. I used to think, wow, you know. When I was a kid, I heard that, and I thought, that's pretty severe. And then I always thought, if you say this, it's a sin. And if you do this, it's a sin. Well, I was a pretty inquisitive kid, so I thought, I'm going to try it. I said it, and I didn't die. I thought, I thought about the things that if I did this, it's a sin. I did it. It actually felt good. And I thought, that's not right. Well, the truth is, it is right. Sin is transgression of the law. And when you transgress the law, you die. Now, that doesn't mean your heart stops beating and you become embalmed or incinerated. It means that you're moving in a downward direction. So we have to ask ourselves, different things we do. Is this serving me? Is this serving me well? Is it moving me in the direction of my dreams, or is it taking me in the other direction? When you're in harmony with the law, everything's growing. And when you're not, it's going in the other direction. It's the same with the plants. It's the same with all animal life, because it's all of life. The whole universe moves according to law. And what we want to do is learn. Now, you'd think they teach this when they start teaching you a language. But the truth is, the teachers don't even understand it.
Right.
We're taught to be good little go-getters. The law doesn't say go and get. The law says go give. The universe will give it back. You know, and these are not man-made, so nobody's going to change them. You either fall in line with them or you don't. I mean, it's that simple.
I love when we've talked in the past about competition. There was a book called Transgressing, where you create a bigger pie so we can all have more. I've always noticed that what you do is you serve. I'll never forget the time when you came down to Hilton Head, and we had just opened a wellness center there. And you came down and filmed, and people were like, their jaws dropped to the floor. I said, well, you got to come and hear this guy, Bob. Well, they couldn't believe that you were there, and the information was so powerful for them that it changed people's lives forever. As a matter of fact, it made one of them, Dr. Paul Long, write books, and we've still become friends. I want to shift gears for a little bit. You always ask of me and other people, almost constantly, what do you really want? My question to you, Bob Proctor, is what do you really want? You ask everyone else. I haven't heard anyone say, what do you really want, Bob?
I want a much greater awareness. Now, to get that, I think you have to lock into something physical, intellectual, and spiritual. Well, it ends up physical, so that's a good place to start. You start with the manifestation that you want, and then you build an image that's going to support it. I want to build a much larger company. I want 1,000 people representing us. I want to operate in every country in the world. I want 6,000. I think I said 1,000 because we have 1,000.
Right.
I want 6,000 people representing us. When I get there, I'll probably want 12. I think we're in 89 or 90 countries right now. I want to be in all countries. So I set these goals, and it's not to get, it's to inspire me to do. I'm into doing more than getting, you know. I had a client tell me if I did this, he'd buy me a nice big Rolls Royce, and I said, I don't want a Rolls Royce. I said, get my wife a Rolls Royce. She's into cars. I'm not into cars. I'm not into really what I get. I'm into what I do. I take tremendous satisfaction out of doing something better than I've done it before. So I'm always trying to figure out how to communicate it more effectively, how to do it better. And that's really what it's about for me.
I was listening to someone, it may have been Tony Robbins recently, and we were talking about goals. You know, you've taught me, I always carry my goal card around in my pocket, and you know, and it's like an affirmation. You say it as if it's already in the present tense. And what he was saying was, and I'd like your thoughts on this, is that you reminded me of it when you said, I don't want the roles. You said, it's after you've made the millions, you said, then you have the honor and the privilege to give it away, because it's what you become along the way, on the journey, that makes the difference. Serving, making other people more aware. Is that how you feel?
Well, yeah, because I mean, you don't take anything with you. Right. So what are you going to do? I mean, store it up and look at it. The whole concept of life is circulation. Where there's no circulation, there's no life. So the idea of getting and holding it is pretty simple, silly. That's like holding your breath. That's not conducive to life. So we want to keep everything circulating. And you see people do that. You know, like Carnegie, he spent half his life earning money, the other half giving it away. Well, the joy is in giving, not in getting. And I think when a person starts to understand that, that's when they really start to make headway. But you see, we've been raised in 97% of us are raised in lack and limitation because the parents don't have much, the relatives don't have much. And every now and then somebody breaks away from that paradigm and they have much. You know, they earn a lot, they do a lot. But that's only on a rare occasion. So we're forever in the beginning trying to get enough to get the new car, to get the house, to get the company. And so the get concept is very deeply planted. Well, we've got to understand that the getting doesn't really do it. It doesn't wind your stem. I mean, you've got to figure out, well, wait a minute, if that doesn't do it, what does do it? Giving it. And so the people that are having, I think, the best trip in this life are the ones that are really providing the most service. We hear the greatest is the servant. Well, I think when we hear that first as little kids, we think of the person walking around with a tray serving people. And of course that's one form of service, but you know, there's so many. And that's really where it's at. So as we learn that, I think we make headway and we go ahead.
Well, last few things I want to share with you. We talk about to be, to do, to have, to become. It's what I'm watching you become. Even since when I first met you, you've become something different. Even though you continue to study along the same lines to empower others, you're still becoming. You wrote a book called You Were Born Rich. I mean, for the casual listener, you were born rich. I mean, what the heck is that about? What does that mean, you were born rich?
Just talking to a fellow in Florida, Nader. He wrote one, Always Rich.
Always rich.
I said, well, you're always rich if you're born rich. Well, the idea is that we are born rich. We're usually just short of money. We've got deep reservoirs of talent and ability within us. So we've got deep riches within us. And the trick is to bring it to the surface. And you're talking about the be, the do, and the have. Well, you know, Goethe, Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, he really shifted the thinking of the Western world. He was a bright guy, the German philosopher, psychologist. And I read something just this morning that he said, when you think a great thought, it's been thought many times, but he said the trick is to incorporate it into your life so it's a part of your experience. And of course that's the trick of changing. And you've got to be it in here first. You've got to be whatever it is you want. You've got to be it. You've got to have it inside.
Oftentimes heard, are you the experience or are you the experiencer? Yeah. It's kind of a fascinating thing. Bob, we've been talking, kind of dancing around the circle and suppose while the secret sits in the middle and knows. It's a Robert Frost poem. We talked about energy is and universe. What are your views on the universe? I mean, are you a proponent of the string theory? Are you the proponent of the membrane theory? Do you believe that Hawking is on the right track? Do you believe something different. What's your viewpoint about that? When people say, Bob, what's your view of the universe?
I don't think anybody knows. I really don't. I believe that there is an infinite power. I don't believe that God is a man on a cloud that reaches down and blesses some and curses others. But I do think there's so much order. You can't look at all this creativity and think there's no creator. Now, my concept of that goes way beyond the scope of my imagination, so I really don't know. I don't think Hawking knows. I don't think anybody knows. I think Hawking's got an opinion. But people who are considered as brilliant as Hawking in their day, they had theories, and those theories sort of fallen apart. And some of the concepts that we believe are so absolutely absurd when you render them up to some serious investigation. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm mystified by the universe. I think it's like I just saw a picture of a cell. I just received it on my computer. A cell in your body, and it looked like a universe in itself, and it probably is.
Right.
So I don't know the answer to that. I guess maybe that's what we're studying all the time. So we're trying to see. I think we're an expression of something much bigger than ourselves. And the trick is to become aware of your oneness with that something, whatever it is. I refer to it as God. I don't know what my concept of God is. I think where we've made a big error, where it's written that God created us in his image, we got that reversed and we created God in our image. And that's where the problem started. We think of God as being a man, and then you think, how can that man be everywhere? Well, of course, the physical man can't be everywhere, but the connection to everything he can, you know.
There's the mind again.
That's right.
Back to the mind.
Yeah, that's when you start to understand that all energy is hooked up, because every frequency is hooked up to the one above and the one below. So everything in this room is connected, everyone and everything. It's all connected. There's no line of demarcation where one frequency stops and another starts. And so you get into this and you start thinking you're into something pretty big. You know,
We are,
you should never be bored.
Arthur Clarke, point well taken. Arthur Clarke said the only limit to mankind's achievement is his imagination. Now, I know that you have a very fertile imagination, so do I. And I can imagine here some unbelievable things and possibilities of this speck of dust spinning through the cosmos Jacques Cousteau calls planet Ocean, in this small Milky Way galaxy far out and on the edge of this universe, where there are these membranes coming together that create other universes as soon as they touch. Einstein was befuddled by it, went to his grave not being able to come up with the one equation that Hawking is now looking for as well. So I was going to ask you what your thoughts are about God, but you've already talked about that.
I believe in one God, one unfoldment, one plan. I think everything once was perfect, and we're returning to a point that once was. See, the idea that energy returns to its source of origination, I buy into that.
What's next for Bob Proctor?
More of what I'm doing.
More of
Bigger
what you're
seminars,
doing?
more programs, more effective programs.
I've met, both of us, I believe, are at a point in our lives where we have the opportunity to render the most service based on experience. It's almost like a consultant of information that you've studied all these years.
Well, I think really the secret to that, though, I think as you get a little older, the peripheral stuff doesn't mean as much. You don't spend as much time thinking on the frivolous little things. And so your mind is more clear, more free to really focus on what is important. And makes life more interesting, too.
On the TELUS network, Bob, I know that you have a plethora of content and information that people will be able to gain access to. Mm-hmm. And I'm so grateful that you are considering becoming part of this global movement, and again, heightened awareness for people around the world to allow them to have the privilege to gain a different perspective on the universe and on life and on servitude and on constant, endless learning. Bob, last question. Last question.
That's the rest.
How do you want to be remembered?
You know, just as a guy that was very effective at waking people up. I woke up. I just want to wake other people up. I was just staggering along, doing nothing really, putting in time, and doing nothing constructive, and like that, my life changed. And you'll often hear people say, one person can't change the world. One person changed my world. And so that's the way I look at it. I want to change somebody else's world. Well, that's what I spend my life doing.
You're right there. I mean, when you look at Gandhi, Gandhi changed the world. Indira Gandhi changed the world. Margaret Thatcher has. Roosevelt has. Rhonda Byrne has. I mean, there's so many people that are doing that. And you're right there among them, Bob, and I'm proud to know you and honored to be in your presence today.
My pleasure.
You have a great day.
Roger.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Roger, what an honor to be with you and Bob in his office here. And it's very rare indeed to have this opportunity. So we're happy to be able to share with you behind the curtain with the real Bob Proctor.
I think the real Bob Proctor shared with you his candidness, his humility, and he's really kind of a shy guy actually outside of the public sector. It's different than when you see Bob on stage, so I hope you really enjoyed this wonderful peek behind the curtain with Bob Proctor. This is Dr. Roger Boger.
And Karen Boger, and I hope that, as Bob has taught us to do, we've left you with an impression of increase today. Thanks for taking this journey with us today and looking
behind the curtain.